You're listening to Bold Hearts, Big Moves, the show for female entrepreneurs who want it all: a thriving business, deep self love, and fulfilling relationships. I'm Erin Anderson, and each week we will dive into how to set stronger boundaries, make empowered choices, and show up in life and business with boldness, authenticity, and heart. Because let's be real, the money you make is directly related to the love that you have for yourself and the strength of your relationships. So if you're ready to lead with love and make those big moves with those bold hearts, let's dive in.
Hello, everybody. I hope you are having a wonderful, wonderful day. We are really kind of closing out the Million Women Rising Wisdom Exchange with Erin Anderson, and I am so excited to introduce her to you. If you haven't seen her lives, please go. Amazing analogies and connection and understanding boundaries and trauma. And I'm just grab a pencil and a piece of paper. You're going to want to take some notes. You're going to learn some stuff today. So let's get to know Erin and let's learn a little bit about trauma and boundaries. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Janice Whiting. I'm the founder of the Million Women Rising Wisdom Exchange, and I am just blessed and honored to get to sit here today with this amazing, beautiful woman and learn about this. So, Erin, tell us a little bit about what you do and why do you do it?
Sure, absolutely. So I was to tell the story, I've got to kind of go back a little bit. Um, I started off by coaching women through betrayal trauma,
Mm.
right? Because it's something that me and my husband have dealt with in our own marriage. And even though like I went to therapists, I went to counselors, like I was trying everything I could think of to heal like how I was feeling and how broken I felt. Going to counselors and therapists helped a little bit, but I was just getting, this is how you cope with it,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And I
Oh,
didn't
yeah.
want to cope with it. It was like living with a vampire. Like, this is how you live with a vampire, right? Like, no, I didn't want to do that. I really didn't. Like, let's evict the frickin' vampire, right?
Mm.
He can, like, do something else, like, out, right?
I don't think he's going to hear the recording, so you can just go get
Yeah,
it.
right,
No, I'm kidding.
right.
By the way, side note, they're still married, so it's okay.
Yes, yes, we are. We are. We are. We're still married. There are still days I'm like, "Ugh," but there's probably still days he's like, right? Like, it
Yes.
still happens. But, um, when I got looking at my betrayal trauma and also the trauma that other women were coming to me with, it wasn't just about their husbands. Like, mine came from childhood. It came from, development. It came from colleagues. Like, I started noticing like trauma was something that was really prevalent
Mm.
in all aspects and all relationships in my life. And I was noticing the same thing happening with a lot of my clients.
Yeah.
And it was coming from society. Like like there's just a lot of it out there, unfortunately. And just because we heal it doesn't mean it ever goes away, right?
Yes, absolutely.
But when we start like actually understanding the tools, and the next point of this would be boundaries.
Mm.
Once we start understanding those pieces and what boundaries actually are, because they're not taught right. They're not.
Mm.
When we start understanding those things, when trauma comes our way, we know how to heal it quickly, right?
Yes. Well, so I want to unpack just a little bit because I think sometimes when we hear the word trauma, we're thinking
Hmm.
about big things, like big, huge things. But sometimes trauma is it happens to us and it's almost like a side note in our life, and
Yeah.
we pick it up and we carry it with us. And I would love you to unpack that a little bit for our listeners to Understand we're not necessarily, I mean, we are talking about big things, but we're also talking about some little things and that we just pick up and we start carrying. And I'd love you to help our listeners understand that a little bit more.
Yes. Yeah. Well, see, that gets into the second part of this, and that's the boundaries,
Okay.
right? Okay, because you're right. Like we do, life is a daily thing. It happens to us every single day. Thank heavens. Like so grateful for that, right?
Yes.
But you're right. There are things that because life is a repeatable thing,
Right.
there are things that are also on repeat in our life,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so you're talking about even just these little things like, say, for instance, like last summer was actually kind of traumatic for me
Okay.
because, I live on a homestead. We have like lots of chickens and I
Mm,
love those chickens. And to see like I baby them, we pet them, like we cuddle them, we interact with them. They become our pets, right?
right.
And last summer, for some reason, they were just dying left and right, and we couldn't figure out what it was, and it was almost on a daily basis, right?
Okay.
And eventually, what ended up happening with every single day, another chicken dead, I struggled going out around my flock,
Okay.
right? Do you see what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
And so that happens to us in a sense with business too.
Mm,
Like we have clients maybe on a daily basis that don't connect with us, or we're not getting the clients into us like we want, or we're not getting the sales, the revenue. Like there's so many aspects to business
yes.
that are happening on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm.
We're not finding the time to market. We're not. And after time, all those little things build up. And what do? We start avoiding the chickens,
Mm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
We start avoiding our business. We start avoiding the marketing. We start avoiding our
Yeah.
clients, or we get into a point where we're like, ah, like my clients are either just driving me crazy, or why won't these people like understand? And like, it's frustrating.
Right.
But one thing I have learned is that frustration is 100% you breaking your boundaries. That is
Oh.
an yes, that is an emotion that is telling you that you are breaking your own boundaries.
Oh, I really want you to dive more into that. That is
Yes,
fascinating. So, you guys hear that? When you're getting frustrated, you're breaking your boundaries. Oh, and I don't know. Put frustrated in the comments if you can relate to what we're talking about business, we're talking about marketing, we're talking about trying to get everything done and still have a life and still have a family.
relationships.
And you're
Yes.
frustrated. So if we reframe this and we see this a little bit differently, help us understand that because I think that's a super interesting distinction.
Yes. Well, to understand that, you also have to understand what not trauma, I'm sorry, but what boundaries are.
Okay.
Okay? People will sit there and tout that they are the the panel or the wall between you and another person,
Okay.
right? This is why we have coaches. I have had coaches tell me, "Oh, don't use boundaries, they're bad. They put a wall between you and another person." Or
Okay.
I have them also say, "Oh, boundaries are fabulous because you control the situation." And it's not well defined.
Okay.
Boundaries are 100% about you, how you choose to show up for you, how you choose to be, who you're deciding to be today, tomorrow, and the next day,
Hmm.
right? In a way that makes you proud of yourself, like yourself, and love yourself, right?
Yeah.
That is what a boundary is.
Okay.
And that
That's
keeps,
interesting. I'm sorry. I mean, I think that's interesting because I've never heard it framed that way. And that boundaries usually it's an external thing. It's like I'm putting boundaries for you
yeah,
to not cross over. It's interesting the way you're framing it. Is it? It's about me. I mean, I get the nuance of the two, but I think it's interesting. So go on.
yeah, well, absolutely. Well, people, and they'll say that it's like what happens between you and another person because in reality, how you choose to show up in your life in a way that makes you happy
Okay.
and fulfilled does affect other people.
Mm.
right? Our choices always affect other people no matter what,
Right.
right? And so, like, we can choose to show up a certain way, but what we've learned somewhere in childhood
Okay.
is that to stay safe, we have to stay silent.
Mm.
To stay safe, we have to please this person. And so we'll be on this track, and I see people get frustrated. This is where the frustration comes in. People get on this track and they're like, this is where I'm going to go. And then all of a sudden, that childhood trauma is triggered.
Okay.
And it's like they're yanked off of that road through the boonies, in through the desert, and they find themselves broken down in the middle of the desert,
Okay.
wondering how the heck did I get here in the first place?
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
Because they're trying to people please, because they're trying to overgive, they're trying to stay silent, they're trying to stay safe
Okay.
because as children, we have to have somebody else advocate for us. And if we didn't have that advocation,
Hmm.
well, we learned this is how we stay safe,
Okay.
right?
Right. Right.
Okay. So that's what happens. The whole point of healing trauma is unlearning it,
Okay.
right? Unlearning who we are, what we stand for, how amazing we truly are. You know, I'm a Christian, I'm very big on God. Anchoring into who God created you to be. If you're not a God follower, you don't believe in God, Jesus Christ, etc., then the question I'd have for you is what is your highest form of love?
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because anchoring into that love, the kind of love that knows every hair on your head, the kind of love that knows every skin cell, the kind of love that is out there that designed this entire universe for you to live in and thrive in,
Hmm.
right? That grew a banana in Ecuador, sent it to your grocery store with nutrition filled for you specifically, what your body's going to need in that moment, so you would pick it up and eat it,
Hmm.
right? That's the type of love I'm talking about.
Okay.
And if we vision ourselves through that lens,
Hmm.
what is the difference? Are we viewing ourselves still with this, oh, I have to people please, my voice doesn't matter, I have to stay safe? Or are we starting to realize, holy heck, I'm freaking awesome?
Okay.
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 Because once we start understanding our true potential, our true worth, how amazing we really are, that we have been created by this type of love, we are truth.
Mm.
When we start understanding that and how we deliver that to the world,
Okay.
we start to have faith in ourselves. We start to like ourselves. We start to enjoy our own company. And that's a big deal because you're the one person you can't abandon
Mm.
ever, right?
Right. Right. Yeah.
No matter what happens, you will always have to live with yourself. And so if you don't like all pieces of yourself, love every single piece, then you will always feel in a way outside of yourself and you won't receive what you say you want.
Mm. And that's what you were talking about in your talks. You're talking about manifestation, and you're
Yes.
talking about, yeah, yes, yes. So I'm going to back up a little bit. So I'm feeling frustrated.
Mm-hmm.
So frustration is this manifestation, if I've got this right, of some sort of trauma. And
Mm-hmm.
it's the boundary thing where I'm not respecting. Am I getting this right? I'm not, holler in if I'm getting it right. So so for our listeners, watchers right now, what are they paying attention to? So if I'm feeling frustrated, what should I be paying attention to? Because frustration, usually you just react. I know I do.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Mm-hmm.
react. So what else can I do in this point where maybe I'm frustrated with my spouse or I'm frustrated with my business and I start to do bad behavior? What can I do to kind of catch myself?
Sit in it for just a minute.
Okay.
Okay. Because let me tell you something, every single emotion takes 90 seconds to burn out of our body chemically.
Okay.
Okay. Only 90 seconds.
If you sit there and you have a comedian that is making you laugh, and you time that laugh a little bit, it takes 90 seconds for that to chemically burn out of your body.
Oh,
The
interesting.
same thing the same thing is true with anger, frustration, sadness, guilt, etc. When you just sit in it without re-triggering it, meaning just don't think about it, just feel it for a minute.
Okay.
Okay? Once that emotion cools for a second, then we get to ask some questions like, what is that emotion trying to tell me? You
Mm-hmm.
need to understand that your emotions are the bridge between your subconscious and your conscious brain.
Mm-hmm.
So when emotions come up, it's something in your subconscious that's trying to come into the consciousness.
Okay.
They're trying to get your attention. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. But we react because there's such a force behind it
Mm.
that we feel like we need to do something or whenever we have that, like it gives us motivation actually to
Right.
do something. But emotion should be used for wise motivation to push us into the right direction. If we're just reacting to react,
Mm-hmm.
then it gives us crazy, unsustainable, and all over the place results, right?
Now, do you journal or anything? Or when you say sit with your emotion, well, it's really hard to turn off that monkey mind. It's really hard to turn off
Mm-hmm.
the chatter, chatter, chatter. How, so should we be doing a meditation? Should we be doing something that,
Focus on your breathing only.
okay.
Like, yes, all that stuff, but not at the moment. This is a sign right now that you're kind of overwhelmed. And
Okay.
so if you add things on, it'll overwhelm you further. However, if you pull it back for just a second and you focus on your breathing, it will help again not re-trigger what just happened. Okay. It'll just give you the moment to sit and be with it for a second. Okay.
Okay.
So think about this kind of like a mom. Okay.
Mhm.
I've got 6 kids. I love my kids with all my heart and soul, right?
Crazy.
But when yes, it is. It's a
And
very
chickens.
crazy, very interesting, very busy life. But when my kids come to me and they're like, "Ah," right?
Yeah.
I'm not reacting because if I react or if I start to journal or if I start to get on my phone or something like that, then I'm not paying attention. I'm not connecting to them,
Okay.
right? Sitting with them for just a second and just listening
Mm-hmm.
to what they're saying, not taking it for truth, not taking it for a lie, just listening to what is coming out of them,
Okay.
right?
Mm-hmm.
You got to understand that language is spoken in 3 ways. Yes, with our words, but also with our actions and our energy.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're coming with all these actions and this big, huge emotion and it's coming out of their mouth really, really fast and their energy is scattered and etc. When I just sit with them for a second and I breathe, that's a lot, right?
Mm-hmm.
I'm sitting with them in compassion.
Mm-hmm.
Part of the reason why we react to our emotions in any other way except for this is because we are afraid of the judgment that we might give ourselves when the emotion comes up. We often land in self-judgment and not in self-compassion,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So here's me as mom sitting here listening to my kids without judgment,
Okay.
just compassion. Yeah, I know this emotion. I've experienced anger. I've experienced big anger. I've wanted to have these big, huge outbursts. I've wanted to go punch something. I get it, right? Then after they're able to calm the emotion down, okay? Because that's where we need to be,
Okay.
calming the emotion, because we won't be able to hear, we won't be able to take in information if our emotions are really, really elevated. Then we can get curious. So
Mm-hmm.
tell me a little bit more about that anger. Like, why do you think that showed up, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, because my sister was doing this and it really frustrated me. I get you. Yeah, I can see how that would be frustrating. Tell me more about why that frustrated you.
Mm-hmm.
Because she didn't do what I said. Oh, okay. Is she supposed to do what you say?
Yes.
Well,
I'm kidding.
right? Right?
I'm kidding.
Yes.
Yes,
I'm
she
like,
is.
she is? Right? She is? Are you sure? Right? Are you telling me that you're the parent here? What role are you trying to fill? Right? And so when we sit here and we get curious for just a few minutes,
Mm-hmm.
truth can come out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
When truth comes, it anchors back into the self-compassion and a boundary comes up. This is how this works.
Okay.
Okay. And so for an example, um, say like, okay, growing up, I had a yeller for a mom,
Okay.
right? And, I think that that was pretty normal in a way for moms back then to get kind of loud and big, hairy, and scary, right?
Yes.
But it was kind of traumatic for me, like, growing up with a yeller.
Oh,
And
yeah.
so when I had my own kids, I was like, I don't want to be a yeller. Guess what I ended up being?
Oh, darn it. Yes, I know
Because
what you mean.
that was the example. That's what I had seen, right?
Yes.
And then I'd get super guilty and I'd get into the cycle of judgment and like, dad nabbit, Aaron. And all of a sudden now the yelling's coming back to myself,
Mm.
right?
Okay.
What ended up happening is when I stopped for just a minute and walked away from my kids when they were triggering me.
Yeah.
Kids are wonderful for triggering us, like great, right?
Yes.
I walked away for a minute, sat in it
Mm.
without triggering it. I would just breathe because that's not what I wanted to be. I wanted to be a mom that heard her kids, that was
Mm.
able to understand her kids, be able to connect with her kids when they needed her to be someone of trust, right? No
Right.
matter what. That's what I wanted. And so the action wasn't matching up with what I wanted.
Mm.
Okay. I
Mm-hmm.
knew that. I knew that. Similar, like when we say that we want a business that has like 6, 7 figures. If we're not marketing, if we're not out there connecting, if we're not networking, if we're not speaking up, if we're not being that,
Okay.
we're not going to hit there, right? We're not going to
Right.
get that result. The
Right.
actions have to line up with the result.
Mm-hmm.
So for me, sitting in the emotion for a second and then getting curious, like, why did that trigger me?
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm so tired of feeling burnt out. I'm so tired of having to clean up the mess again. I'm so tired of being the maid, right?
Oh, I can relate to that.
Right? You
Yes.
can.
Yes.
Then we get to get curious about, okay, well, why am I showing up as the maid?
Mm.
Why am I telling them in some way that that's what I am? If that's not what I am, why am I giving that vibe?
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
And at first, like that lands you in self-judgment, like, oh, right? Why on earth? Why? But when we stop for a minute and we're like, okay, I'm hearing that I don't want to be the maid. I feel that guilt and I feel that judgment. So what do I want to be?
Okay. So then reframe. Then kind of.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. What do I want to be?
So is this the boundary part where is this where
Mm-hmm.
you're starting to form? I love this. I just want to recap really quick because I think it's important because we've covered a lot of grounds. Is that when you're feeling frustration, you basically you're getting triggered. You got in,
Yeah.
I know we're kind of wearing that word out, but something is bubbling up to the surface that's impacting. It's coming. You're not even sure what it is, and you're saying,
Mm-hmm.
don't just react. Stop. How many seconds? 90 seconds?
90 seconds.
90
90
seconds.
seconds.
So,
Yep.
we can all do a sit up for 90 seconds, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Try to do a plank for 90 seconds. So sit with it for 90 seconds. Get curious about
Mm-hmm.
then, but don't get curious right away. Hold for a second just because you're too wrapped up in it. You need to get to the other side of that emotional state of whatever
Yep.
you're in. Then you get yourself curious. And then you start understanding, if I'm understanding this correctly, because this is where we just left off, is we're now trying to repaint the lines
Yep.
that, and oh, I loved your analogy of the fence, and I really want you to tell that analogy.
Okay.
That because this is a really thing. You only in this calm emotional state, on the other side of this emotional state, can you then start to repaint these lines
Yep.
around, and you then start to redefine it, because when we started you said it's about you. This is
Yes.
boundaries are about you, not about the other person. And we really like to put boundaries on other people. They own
Yep.
the boundaries. Okay, so now go. I just want to make sure everybody's caught up because we've covered a
Yes.
lot.
Yes. Yes. And it is a lot to cover in just a little bit of time. But so for me, it was, I am the mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Do you hear the I am statement?
Yes.
I don't believe in oh, what are they called? Affirmations. I
Okay.
believe in truth.
Okay.
Okay. Affirmations are boundaries in infancy. When you sit there and say, yes, when you say, I am the mom,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't come in and define what mom is,
Mm.
then it's up for debate. It's up for discussion. It's up for the maid role.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yes.
To me, mom was an educator. Mom was a listener.
Mm.
Mom was present. Mom was calm. Mom was grounded. Mom took time for herself so she could give all these things emotionally to her kids. I had to define what mom was.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. No, this is
And
making a lot of sense. Yeah.
this is me living inside of my value of my family,
Okay.
right?
Yes.
Boundaries also work within your values.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Okay.
You have to define what that boundary says, what that looks like. And then when you do that, it starts to define the actions behind it. Once you define the actions behind it, like sitting with them, listening, not getting emotionally charged,
Mm-hmm.
getting grounded, taking time for yourself. Do you see all that action statement? Right?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, very much so.
Then, then you have the actions that are going to get you the result you say you want.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
Right.
So your boundaries are foundational for your results. People don't behave above their self-belief.
Ooh, I love that. Oh, guys, write that down. Get a pen. That's a writer downer one.
Yes.
Say it again. Say it one more time.
People do not behave above their self-belief.
Oh, that is so awesome. I love it.
So if you say you're $1 million earner,
Mm-hmm.
if you don't believe it, it ain't happening.
I think I'm gonna you've got it. The point I really am getting here, and I'm hearing from you, is you have to define it.
Yes.
And I love that, because so many times people want something, but they haven't actually defined what they want. I
Yes.
want to be a good mom. Well, what is a good mom? What if
Yes.
I want to be a seven-figure earner in my business? What is that? What does that?
Right.
Who are you? Who not who are you to do this? Who do you need to believe you are?
Yes. And who are
Right?
you going to be? Right? And
Yeah.
start taking actions towards that. And so now, like when my kids frustrate me, which is actually really rare,
Mm.
okay, I sit with it for a minute and I'm
Hmm.
like, okay, what am I not doing for me?
Okay.
Okay. Usually it comes down to, oh, you know what? I haven't taken time for myself in like this amount of time
Mhm.
because I've been busy with this, and I've been busy with this, and I've been busy with this. You know what I need? I need time. I need quiet. I need peace. That's why I'm frustrated. And then I plug that back in,
Mm-hmm.
right? Frustration, are you telling me that I'm not taking enough time for myself? And
Mm.
if that's true, the emotion quiets. It settles
Okay.
completely, right?
Yes. Yes.
And so this is why I say like boundaries really are the foundation to anything we try to manifest in our life. It comes with who we say we're going to be.
Mm-hmm.
And we get to define that, what that space looks like. And so you're talking about this analogy about the fence, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to give that right now. What it basically is you get to decide what your property line looks like. You are your property. You are your own property. You get to decide what that looks like, right? So I want you to imagine like this is what my like external great property would look like. I've got this beautiful home, right? I've got horses, I've got chickens, I've got a beautiful lawn, space for the kids, right? And in the property line, there's this gorgeous fence around it. And inside the fence, there might be like some gardens, like maybe some vegetable gardens, flower gardens, etc. inside
Mhm.
the fence line. Okay. If somebody comes up and hops my fence and tramples the flowers and drags mud up my stairs and into my home,
Mhm.
I'm going to take them probably by the ear and take them right back out, right? And show them where the gate is and say, this is how you enter my home.
Mm,
This is how you enter my space, right?
right.
If you want to enter my space and you want to be a part of this, then here's what you do. You got to come in the gate. You got to walk up the pathway,
Mhm.
brush your shoes off, take them off at the door. Then let's come in and sit down and have a discussion,
Mm,
right? Don't trample my flowers. Don't trample my vegetables. I've worked hard for that. Okay.
right.
You might have somebody that yells at you and says, this is not the property line. I want the property line over here, right? Guess what? They don't get to decide. That property line is anchored in. It is cemented in. You have the paperwork showing that this is your property line. Your
Right.
paperwork is God, that highest form of love.
Mm-hmm.
That's your property line.
Okay.
Okay. You can also have people that try to bulldoze the fence. They like there's lots of ways that people try to break the boundary,
Yes.
right? Or
Yes.
try to tell you how your space should look.
Mm-hmm.
And there are times that we have to make repair with ourself.
Mm,
Okay. There are times we're going to have to repair that fence because somebody bulldozed it.
right.
There's times we're going to have to sweep out our hallway because somebody tracked mud in.
Right.
Boundaries are upkeep too.
Mm,
Okay. But they're also constantly growing. We're constantly nurturing. We're constantly trimming the grass, nurturing those flowers, changing the way our front room looks, changing the way the outside of the house looks. Like we get to keep the change coming in, right? We still get to
right.
decide what it looks like.
Yeah. It
Nobody else does.
if I'm understanding correctly, that when you're doing your reflection and you're defining, like you said, you want defined what does a mom mean, this is you building those boundaries. So
Hmm.
you know when someone is trampling through your flower bed. Because if I'm making the connection all the way back to I'm frustrated, it's if somebody's breaking a boundary and I kind of don't really understand what my boundaries are, I haven't defined my
Often,
property
yes.
and you're trampling, I don't know why I'm frustrated with you. I'm frustrated, but if I know that you're trampling my flowers and I know exactly how to tell you what you're doing wrong, like this is not okay with me that you're tracking mud in my house. And that's the important step where you define it.
Yes, but there's actually one step further to this, okay?
Okay. Okay.
When you hold your boundaries, you are telling people that they get to be the very highest version of themselves when they are in your space.
Okay.
Okay? I don't allow people with muddy shoes in my front room.
Mm-hmm.
I allow people with respect in my front room,
Right.
right?
Right.
They get to show up as their best selves. Now, if they don't want to do that, that's cool. That's awesome. I send them away with love and let them know, hey, that gate is locked for you.
Yes.
Okay? But people respect me because I respect myself.
Mm,
And because I respect myself and I've created this space, when they are inside of it, they get to respect themselves too.
right.
And so conversations actually form around that. So,
Mm,
like with my kids, right? Say, like the kitchen didn't get done again, which is something that happens a lot in my home, right?
yes.
Instead of, why didn't you do the kitchen? Why? Like, yo, nope, sorry. this is a boundary violation, blah, blah. You're like, no, I asked them, hey, is this the best you can do?
Mm.
Is this like you're telling me by your actions right now that this is the best you can do? That's not the vision I have for you.
Mm.
For me, when I see you, I see someone who's hardworking, who's dedicated, who pays attention to the details, etc. So my vision and your vision aren't matching. Which one's correct? Right?
Mm-hmm.
99% of the time, people want to buy into the higher vision of themselves
Mm.
because here's the kicker. People are getting into coaching not because they want more money, not because they want better relationships, but because they actually want to know themselves
Mm.
better. They want to define themselves as an entrepreneur. They want to define themselves as a mom. They want to define themselves. This is why you have things like uh, human design and the astrology and things like that. And it's because people want to figure out what works for them.
Right. Yes.
But it's simple when we realize and we're present with ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
it becomes so much simpler.
Mm.
We don't have, like, I believe that God celebrated our birth in the stars. I totally believe that, but I think that it doesn't need to be that complicated.
Mm.
It simply just needs to be, who do you want to be? What makes you love and appreciate yourself?
Mm.
How do you connect back in with that highest form of love? Because if we have entrepreneurs that are subscribing to that, that is what is going to change the pain that we see in this world.
Mm. Mm. Powerful. Very powerful. So let me ask you that I mean, guys, I hope you took notes because I'm over here taking notes. I'm writing stuff down. I'm like, that's good stuff. So I normally ask people to give a piece of advice as we start to wrap up.
Hmm.
And I'm telling you, that path you just gave, literally, she just handed you the step-by-step process on how to shift every day, any point in time you need to shift.
Yep.
Stop, take a breath. All you need is 90 seconds. Sit with it, explore it a little bit, decide how you're going to redefine it. I'm sure I'm missing a lot of, good stuff in there. Um, create your boundaries, hold to them. But you have to understand, you have to have the definition first. If I'm
Hmm.
understanding this correct, if you don't have it defined, then I always say, because I've done a huge amount of work in leadership development, and I always said people hide in chaos. And the more
Yeah.
chaos and unclarity you have in your unit, in your department, wherever, the more people hide and play games. And you do this with people do it with you. They test, they push buttons. Just have kids. You've got six training
Right.
ground of it. It's like, just go to Erin's house and hang out for a week. And you can watch it unfold, right? So
Oh yeah, we get it. Yep.
So I know there's listeners, watchers right now who would love to hear more, connect with you. I know
Hmm.
you offer a I don't know, it's free, right? You
Yeah, it's
actually
free consultation. Yep.
I'll tell you, that's a gift. A free consultation to jump on a call and to connect. Do you want to share a little bit more about what happens during that call?
Sure. And so like just with any coaching call, like we hear like where you're at to where you want to be, but because I've been so practiced in what boundaries are and like hearing like the subconscious and the conscious,
Yeah.
I really get to hear what's down inside that subconscious brain
Yes.
during that conversation. And so I'll ask you questions about like what I'm hearing to get more clarity.
Hmm.
And in that time, I'm going to say, okay, I want you to apply this boundary and this boundary and this boundary to that problem, that emotion. How does it change?
Mm.
Okay. And what ends up happening within that 60 minutes, so I do 60 minutes of a
Wow.
call.
Oh my
Yes.
goodness. Okay.
Yep. Within that 60-minute call, people see their pathway forward. They
Mm.
start to see like how they can respond to a client or their spouse or their kids or etc. because they're now seeing this part of themselves, and this part of themselves communicates, like I said, in words, actions, and energy
Yeah.
to stay consistent. Okay. So I help my clients that come in with this free call. We establish the boundary. We establish the definition of the boundary, the actions behind the boundary, and what the results are, right? So that way they have a really clear path forward. This call, by the way, is not a sales call. This is 100% just a coaching call that I gift once to people who are wanting help. If
Wow.
they want more help from there, then we schedule another call and we talk about like my programs and my offerings at that point. But this just gives me a chance to connect into you and help you with your next steps.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to answer this question.
Okay.
Listeners, so you should call Erin and schedule a 1 hour consultation coaching call, which is free, which is amazing. That's impressive. If you are ... how will they identify and self-identify themselves as someone who would be a benefit to connect with you? And you guys, I'm going to say this. She has radio shows. She has free stuff. I mean, getting into her world it's not just this call and potentially, it is enter into her conversation. You just sat here and spent 37 minutes with Erin. And I don't know about you, but I have had light switches go on in my head about,
Awesome.
I don't, it's like a lot of here's the thing, I'll tell you, this is how you know somebody who's really knows what they're talking about is when they can unpack something so complicated as what we were just talking about in a way that just clicked. I'm like, that makes so much sense. And it feels doable. It feels actionable. And that is awesome. So answer the question. I should call Erin if I am.
So if you are a mompreneur, so we're talking mompreneurs from the spectrum of I stay home with my kids. I maybe work from the office, maybe I don't. I am creating a home. That's entrepreneurship at its finest. Okay. You're still creating products, you're still creating value, you're still creating something there. Okay. Entrepreneurship doesn't always mean you get paid. Two,
Boy,
this is true.
That's a very true statement. A
It's
lot of
very
times
true.
you're paying everybody
Yes.
but you.
Okay. It's so true. But to the mompreneur who does have a business, who maybe is 6 or 7 figures into the business, right? That's the spectrum we're talking about. It's a pretty big spectrum. But if you find yourself sitting here saying, I wish my relationships would show up to support me more. I wish my husband would step in and help me with the kids more. I wish I had more time for myself. I wish I had more money. I wish I had, say the thing, right? If that's what you're thinking, okay, let's get on a call together.
Awesome. Awesome. Oh, thank you so much. This has been so much fun to unravel all of this. And I just absolutely love the way you presented this. I feel like it's one of the best. It's one of the best I've ever heard about helping unravel all of this emotional state and boundaries. And I love the connection between, it starts with boundaries and understanding how to define those. And that is awesome. So thank you so much for being a part of the Million Women Rising Wisdom Exchange. We are so blessed to have you. Watchers, listeners, please go find her. I'll put her links in the comments, but also we'll put a link in the comments so you can schedule a time. And any parting words, any parting advice, tips, tricks, anything else you'd like our listeners to know?
Manifestation, and I will say this, Mary Morrissey says this, that anything you want to manifest comes at the level of love and above.
Ooh, I like that.
And so if you love yourself entirely, there's no part of you that gets left outside of that love. Manifestation is easy.
Wow, that's awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, we're going to sign off. And so we just thank you guys for listening in.
Thanks, you guys. See you soon.
Bye.
Alright, Boundary Boss Babes. I'm super excited that you tuned in with me today. Make sure you tune in again next week as we chat about more Boundary Boss Babe topics. We're going to get into so many other things about how to set boundaries with your business, how to set boundaries with your relationships, so you can truly have the time, the money, and the flexibility that you are seeking. So tune in next week. Make sure you subscribe to this podcast. Let your other Boss Babe friends know about it. And also, if you've got any questions, make sure you submit them into the podcast by clicking on the send us a text message at the bottom of the podcast description. I look forward to seeing you guys next week. See you later, Boss Babes.